start this. So this is how I'd start the question. It's a procedure, so that's the first step, and you've got to go in there. I put it in capitals, not necessary, or to do it in blue. I'm just using it to hopefully make it straightforward to do. The name of the procedure, the identifier, is not string. It's important that whatever name we use, it should try to impart some idea of what it's trying to do. So in this case, it's knotting a string. I have a parameter value here, a single one called str, and I do not need to say its data type, i.e. string. Now in Java, it's a strongly typed language, so you would have to say string. In the pseudocode, they're happy for you to just put in their name of it. So that's our starting off. What's next? What do we need to do with this?
You can say print.
So print could be our command to actually output something to the end. So in this case, concatenation just means sticking something, and it says at the start. So I could say not... I'll try and follow exactly. Speech marks. The speech marks here indicating that it's a string. What's the thing I'm going to use to concatenate? I'll use a plus. Beautiful. Beautiful. Plus what?
STR. Plus string.
Not string. Plus str, yeah? Anything else?
Close the bracket.
Close the brackets. Now, I want you to draw attention to where I place that print. Where did I place it? What's that called when I place it inside? But not just that, the way I've put it. Indenting. Yeah, this bit here I've indented. Between the beginning of procedure and the end of procedure, that's the scope. So that's where procedure begins and ends. And then in here, commands should be indented inside to help for readability. In fact, we looked about what's the two programming tool tips we just talked about. Number one, identifiers should be meaningful, communicate to somebody what they're doing. And the second one we just talked about was that code should be indented to help readability to see scope. Is there a third? Yes, there is. Anybody know?
And you should end the procedure.
Right code, right.
Comment. Good man. Comment. Which I have not done. Sorry about that.
You don't really need to.
Yeah. So this next question here, create a function. So where a procedure did not return a value, now a function does receive a return a value. It should receive as a parameter value the value str, string. It should then return as a string the value and concatenate not at the start. So it's asking you to do the same function as before, but this time it's asking you to do it with a function. And it says print out the result of the return value. So you will need a main bit of code.
Will you have to call the
function?
Yeah.
So you have to declare the function, the way it's structured, it will return a value, and then you have a main bit of code that will actually call that function, and then you need to do it. Let's give you a minute to have a go. So in this one, the first thing we want to do is we want to, instead of using the procedure, we'll use a function. Shall I change the name of it? I don't think so. It's still good, isn't it? So what do we call it? Not string, didn't we?
Yeah, it's not the same thing.
Still doing the same...
It's the same process.
yeah, the functionality is the same. What about a parameter? Bingo. What's the difference?
You should return.
Yeah, I'm not printing it, I'm returning it, exactly. So I need the return, speech marks, yeah, not, dot, boom, boom, plus str and end function. Now, so far, have I satisfied the question?
Yes, we are.
Create a function, it receives a parameter value. This, done. It should then return a string, done, and concatenate not, done. Print out the result of the return value. Have I done that?
No, print.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment down here that main, as in the main bit of the code. How would I actually do this? I want to print out what got returned. How do I do that then? So I'll print, print,
Not string.
print, not string, bingo. Anything I need to send it?
You should call for subroutine.
Yeah, technically, I need to send it something, but I don't know what it is. How about this? I'll send it something. Guys, is it cool? Is it cool?
Not really, no.
It's not cool.
No.
To be fair, right? Not string, it calls the string, it sends cool as the str, and it returns not cool, and it'll print that out.
What did you just say? We to print.
Create a procedure, it receives as parameter two integer values. You can call them whatever you like, but no, you shouldn't call them whatever you like. You can call it like cheese and blue, that'd be weird, right? Give them an appropriate identifier name. It should then print to the console the value of both of these added together. So it's a okay, guys. So I'm going to write it this way. I'm going to actually put in something additional, which wasn't mentioned, but why not? Let's integrate it with user response, so they can actually pick the numbers. Should I do the main bit first, or should I do the procedure bit first? I want to draw your attention to something as well. Typically, the concept of sequence is that the first line, and then the second line, the third line. That's how, unless it's an if statement. But in this, it will always go to the main bit of code first. So subroutines aren't run until they're called. So the fact that I'm writing it first, I mean, I'm stating the obvious here, it means they won't run until they're actually called anyway. So, procedure or function, which one was it?
Procedure.
Give me a suitable identifier. Yeah, add, to be fair, is pretty, it's not bad. Add, any parameters? Yeah. I'm really making the effort this time, guys. I know. It's like, can you believe it? I'm going to run out of ink soon as well with this thing. I mean, All right, what's going to happen inside here? Where am I going to write? Am I going to write here or here? Indent. Of course I am. Of course I am. Print. What am I printing?
Oh, you can use input actually.
Well, we're not going to do input inside this bit though. We're going to have to use that to get sent, and then end procedure. Beautiful in all ways. Oops.
And
procedure. So that's the scope of that beginning and ending. So what will I need here?
Main.
I need the main. I'm going to comment that this is the main bit here. Main. And then I said that, yeah, we could input the things. In fact, let me do something. I'm going to go A equals, what's the command to get a user input? Input, boom.
what value?
Input, what's the question we're going to ask Johnny? Boom. What's the first value? What's the first number? Please enter. And then we're going to have to do the same one for the second number. I'm imaginatively going to call this B. I know. Great. So they've inputted A and B. What do I need to do now? So I need to add them.
Well, you can do print. Let me faster.
So I'm going to go. So I'm going to call the procedure. What's the name of the procedure? So add. And what do I pass it? A, comma, B. Let's talk about what's happening here.
It should be the same.
When so the first line's going to run is this one here, and then it's going to ask the end user to enter a first number. It'll be stored in the value A. Second number stored in the value B. Add A to B. A will become, B will become, and it'll print this one out here. It says in here, create a function. It should receive, so it being a function, it means what, Ashton? A function, it's going to return a value, so have a return statement. And procedure, it won't return a value. So definitely have return in there. It receives as a parameter 2 values. So it's going to have 2 values it's going to have as the input on it. It should then return a double. Now, ultimately, this is pseudocode, so you don't really need to worry about floating on double, but it will return that one. And should then print this to the console as a result. So what's the first thing on the right? No. But it's a function, right? So I need to say it's a function. Yeah? Yeah, okay. Function. And then what's next?
Mr. Foster.
It's, yeah.
Can I go in that, please?
Can you what?
Can I go in that?
Have you finished it?
Yeah.
Bring it over to me in a second, I'll check it out. So, yeah, div, because then you need like a name of what it's going to be doing. And div, that seems fine. I might even call it divide. I'm going to really, go to town. Then, is it going to have to receive any values? So, here's how you can test it. Ashton, divide. What do you need? So we need to have 2 numbers here, yeah? So maybe num1 and then num2. See what I mean? And then you're going to be able to do it. Then it says it should return. So we're going to have to... So it's a function. What did I say a function is? Yeah, so in this case, we are going to have to return a value. And what's it going to return? It's going to return of num1 and num2. So we could say return num1 divided by num2. Now, the deal is, in this stage here, it's not going to print it out. Josh, you can't log on or something, or what's up?
I'll just help with Johnny.
No, you feel free to. So on here, once you've returned num1, num2, it's returning it, but it's not going to print it out, and that's what we want it to do. So I'm going to end the function, and then what you need to do is we need to have another bit of code here, like the main bit of code, and we'll need to send it. We'll have to call the subroutine, divide, and then send it some numbers. And then we'll print the result. So we say print, open the bracket, the name of the function is divide, and then send it a couple of values, like, I don't know, 8, comma, 4. Right, let's see what's going to happen. So divide gets called. So this gets skipped first time because it's not being called. We go straight to the main bit of code. We've got the command print. So we're printing whatever's in here. It calls divide, so it's calling this. 8 becomes num1, 4 becomes num2, and it's going to return 8 divided by 4, so it's going to return 2, so it'll print 2 out. That's how that'll work. With this problem here, we need to create a procedure. So again, we won't be returning a value. It has to receive one parameter, which will be a string, which will give it a suitable name. And in it, we then need to print the console, the first 3 letters of the string by using the substring command. What would I need to think about? Well, the thing I need to think about is what happens if it's 2 letters long or 1 letter long. If I don't catch that, it'll catch the code. So what I'll need to do is do something about it. And I'm thinking I'll give a message if it's not long enough. So anyway, to get started, the top line will be it's a procedure, and we're going to need a sensible name. What's a sensible name for this? First 3. Does it have any parameter values? Yeah, it's got 1, which is going to be this string coming in. Right. What do I need? What did I say we're going to check for? Bingo. So I have to say if, what have I just done? I've indented. So if str.length, what about it? Well, it depends which way you want to do this. So I can either say less than 3 and then catch it if it's not long enough. Right? So if it's less than 3, what should I say?
Print it's too short.
Bingo. Or I could say, but what happens if I flipped it and I was trying to catch it the right way around? Would this be the right logic? Because I'm catching it if it's greater than 3.
I think because it starts 0, 1, 2, so would it be greater than 2?
Well, this one, if the string is 3 in length, is it long enough for me to find the first 3?
Yeah.
That would exclude it, because it's saying the first number you look at is 4, because it was greater than 3. So actually, if you did it that way, you'd have to say like that, greater than or equal to 3, if you want to say it. But I'm going to do it the other way around anyway. I'm going to say, I'm going to exclude it. Then, and what do? Oh, I said I was going to give a message, like print.
Your word is too short.
Yeah, that's it. Word is too short. All right, what's next? Else. What am I going to do? Print. Yeah, str. And the command was .substring. And the way it works on pseudocode is that the first argument you give it is the first place it starts, which would be a position.
0.
There you go. So 0. And then the second argument you give it would be
2.
Now, if I put 3 in, was that what is that you're suggesting?
The first 4.
Yeah, it would give you the first 4 because it would be like 0, 1, 2, 3, which is 4 items. So what would I need to do, as you guys were saying? 2. Beautiful. There you go. Am I finished?
No.
Tiny bit of tidying up, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do I put here?
Main.
Do you need a me?
Well,
To call the procedure.
yeah, I suppose I could do that, couldn't I? So end if, end procedure. Do you see I'm trying to do it in line? I didn't do it very well there, so I'll pretend that didn't happen. And then in the main, what could I do? Call it. What's the name of it?
First 3. So you can put input as well.
So I could ask them for it, couldn't I?
Yeah.
But I'm getting low on space, so I'm just going to chuck them something. What am I going to throw it their way?
STR.
No, but I'm going to.
Oh, word.
I want to send them a value, don't I? So all right. Like bail.
Maybe one big. Maybe one big.
And what will it print out? Gar.
Gar.
Beautiful, guys. So, on this problem here, again, it's asking us to create a procedure, so we will not be returning a value. It should receive a string parameter. You then, but you will need to print out the last 3 letters of the string. So it's very similar to the last time, except now we're going to have to use the substring to, instead of just getting the first 3, getting the last 3. Again, what we need to think about, well, what will you need to check out? It will need to be at least 3 in length, right? Because if it's not more than 3 in length, or 3 or more in length, then there can't be a last 3. So, again, I'm going to do the first line, same as last time. But then we'll need to check, so the same check as last time, really. So if str.length, what do you care about it? Yeah, if it's less than 3, then, and I'm going to do that message again, needs to be a longer word. So far, we're basically in the same place we were last time. Yeah, we've got, it's taken in a string, evaluated the length of the string to see if it's less than 3. If so, word is too short. So we're at this point here, we can assume that it must be 3 or longer. Now we want to print out the last 3 letters. So it's print. We want to use substring. So we want to use str again, and then substring it. But now the 2 commands we need to give it are the last 2. Now, a suggestion I make to a lot of people, and I suggest doing it as well, is then giving something concrete, something real to play around with. So we could give it the phrase, I don't know why I always use the word cheese. It is one of those things that I've got into, but something like cheese. And then think about how it's going to work. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the placement of each of those numbers. For this to work, I'd want it to print from 3 to 5. Then think, okay, what's the length of cheese going to be? Well, the length of that is going to be, so if I did dot length from that, what would it return? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It would return 6. And then look at the relationship. So if I want it to go start at 3, I get length minus 3 to get me to 3, and length minus 1 to get this one there. And then maybe if you're still like, I'm not 100% convinced, you could change this around, and I could call it a cheeser. So now it's 6. And then what would the length return? It would return what would the length return? 7. And now if I said length minus 3 on that would give me 4. So that's where I want to start. And then I want it to go up to 6, so that would be length minus 1. So on here, the 2 commands we want to give it would be str and then dot length minus what?
Minus 3 and minus 1.
And then the second command, so separated by a comma, is str dot length, I'm running low on space here, minus 1. Is that falling off the edge, or is that visible? Oh, beautiful, just about. Anything else I need to do? I printed it, so then it'd be end if. Yeah, and remember, I'm trying to do this in line to make the scope clear. So end procedure. And then I believe, Mo, you were asking me, do I need to feed it a value? You totally could. You could do like a main bit here, and then get a user to input it or do it. Up to you. It's not requesting you to do it, but you could certainly do that. Maybe I should also indicate that this bit over here is not part of the code. This is just for illustration. Right now, I've gone through here. I've said function age check. I've taken age as a parameter. I'm saying if age is above 18, then I can return what? What should I return? Now, there's a fault here with the logic.
Because it's saying if you're 18, it's still
You should greater than equal to.
Bingo. These are the classic and super easy to make mistakes, is that 18 should still be true. So in here, it shouldn't just be greater than, it should be greater than or equal to 18. And I should say then. Else, what should we do? Return false. And then end function. Now, I'm trying to do something, because the next question is trying to make you link these things together. So we've written this function, and of course, a lot of the time you do want to use... Well, that's not bad. Let's have that. You do want to use these things again. So the next question, we're going to actually make use of it. Okay, in this next question, I've taken the liberty of copying over the function that we had before, because this problem is requesting that you make use of it. So create an array of int values. So this is, how many dimensions is this array? One dimensional. What's the length of it? In this case, the size is 6. Yeah, 0, and it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, but it's 6 in size. And I guess the data type for this is int. Anyway, make use of a for loop. So I'm going to use a for loop to go iterate. So step through each of these as I go along. Calling the function here. So I'm using a function to call another function. Okay. Remember, function that calls itself is a recursion. But this is when you're calling a different one. And if you look at it, every time I go .length is a function that someone else has written and I'm using it. So, but now we've written our own function we're going to use. So what's the first thing I'm going to write down? Yeah, but, oh yeah, I should do that, shouldn't I, actually? So what's my array going to be? Now we've declared our array, and we'll go for, and then we have to have a counter. So I, made for the index, equals, start at position 0, and we're going to go up to, so remember, that's at position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could put down from I equals 0 to 5, but that would be not a great idea. Why wouldn't that be a great idea? Perfect. If the array changes in size, so let's say it gets smaller, I'll go outside of the array and it will fall over. If the array gets bigger, I won't go to the end of it, and therefore I won't be able to do the complete check. So instead of saying 5, what should I do instead? Well, I should say ages. And what can I find out about ages? Dot length. I'm just checking to make sure that that's the syntax they use. I believe it is dot length. Same as a string. Doesn't say. That's excellent. Let's just assume dot length then. Ages dot length. And then do I go there? Is that right? We need to do that inside, but I want you to think, what is the length of this array? 6. So do I want to go from 0 up to 6 for this?
You want to do it to I?
No, but do I want to start at 0 and go all the way up to 6? Use your actual eyes. I don't know what eyes you're using right now, right?
-1.
0 not to -1, but I know what you're thinking of. 0 up to 5. So length -1. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you go array out of bounds. -1. Sorry for going into this special box. And then as we're going through, what I want to do is I'm going to go print age check. Where have I got that from? So I'm calling this function over here. What does it expect to receive? Yes. So I need to get that one first, and then that one, and then that one, and then that one as I'm going along. So what's the name of the array that's storing all this? Oh, I should actually make this one, it should be in green, shouldn't it really? My bad. So age check, send it, ages. Whoops. If I just send it ages though, is that going to do the right thing? This is where the square bracket comes from, and what you just said is right. So square bracket, let me make this stupid mistake to start us off. If I put 0 down there, what's going to happen? So as you say, I want to be using this I, because I the first time around would be 0, and then it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in here, I want to put down ages at position I. And so what's going to happen as we run this bit of code, I will be 0 up until 5 for this one here. Print age check, calls this, sends it, age is at position I was 0, so sends 19 to here. 19 is greater than or equal to 18, returns true, we'll print true. And we'll keep on doing that to the end. And then down here is next I. And hooray!